When you think of Nintendo, what comes to mind? Mario, Link, Pikachu, colorful worlds, and heroic quests, but there still exists a severe lack of representation for Black people and their culture. Today, we're taking a quick journey through Nintendo's timeline to see how representation for Black characters has grown, slowly and awkwardly at times, but definitely in the right direction.
Let's rewind to the 1980s, specifically the release of the Nintendo Entertainment System, more commonly known as the NES. This console practically defined modern gaming. Specifically, let's talk about one of the first games on the NES to feature predominant Black characters. These characters being Kid Quick and Mr. Sandman. Both of these were Black boxers. And Doc Lewis, who is Little Mac, the main character's mentor. Doc Lewis stood out as one of Nintendo's first positive Black figures. He's wise, funny, and genuinely supportive. Characters like Sandman and Kid Quick, however, leaned heavily on stereotypes, being an athletic Black boxer. This stereotype is one which will be pretty common in games around this era.
Next up, the Super Nintendo. Technologically advanced, visually stunning, and still not great on representation. In Bebe's Kids, 1994, we meet Khalil and LaShawn, two exaggerated caricatures of the overplayed stereotype of young, Black, reckless thugs, seen commonly in the media of the 1990s. Meanwhile, over in Killer Instinct, there's TJ Combo, another Black man defined only by his physicality and confidence, locked into the one-dimensional archetype of Black boxer.
The 3D era of video games came with many new possibilities. The Nintendo 64, however, had no major Black characters in any of its mainline games. Then, the console afterwards, the GameCube, had one notable Black character, and the only notable Black character in the Super Mario franchise being Nintendo's biggest. This character is El Piantissimo in Super Mario Sunshine, a dark-skinned character whose only purpose in the game is to race against Super Mario. His exaggerated design, complete with a mask, made him feel more like a strange parody than a genuine representation. For a while, these characters were looking awfully flat for being in 3D.
But as Nintendo entered the 2000s, things started to change, and finally we can take a breath. The introduction of Mii's on the Wii gave players something huge, the chance to represent themselves. For many Black players, this was the first time they could see their skin tone and features reflected, even in Nintendo's iconic cartoony style. Some other notable names from the Wii include Shin Megami Tensei Strange Journeys Commander Gore, who stands out as a rare example of dignified representation. A disciplined and noble leader, Gore is portrayed with intelligence and authority, commanding respect from his team. A brief glimpse of what more balanced representation could look like in Nintendo's orbit. Similarly, No More Heroes 2 introduced Nathan Copeland, a charismatic, musically gifted assassin who fused rhythm and combat. Though his screen time was limited, his design and dialogue reflected a creative fusion of hip-hop culture and futuristic aesthetics. Another example of how representation could move beyond simple stereotypes, even within stylized, violent worlds. While these characters weren't perfect, they still had personality. They had charisma, humor, and individuality, and that meant that this was a big step forward.
Nintendo's handheld consoles also joined in on the diversity. These were some of the most diverse games yet. Pokemon Black and White introduced several Black trainers and gym leaders, including Lenora, one of the first Black women in the series, and Iris, who would later go on to become the Pokemon champion. Then there's Basilio from Fire Emblem Awakening, a bold warrior and leader, confident, respected, and fully realized. For once, Black characters weren't just the boxer or the rival, they were heroes in their own right.
Fast forward to Nintendo's latest systems, and we're finally seeing more vibrant representation. In ARMS, Twintel emerged as an instant icon, a glamorous actress who fights using her long, flowing hair. Twintel broke ground not just as a Black woman in a major Nintendo fighting game, but as a symbol of confidence and beauty. Her design celebrates her identity rather than hiding it, making her one of Nintendo's most widely embraced examples of unapologetic Black representation. Similarly, Splatoon 2 introduced Marina, the DJ and half of the pop duo Off the Hook. As one of the few visibly Black-coded characters in a core Nintendo franchise, Marina quickly became a fan favorite. Intelligent, creative, and fashionable, she represents a more modern, multifaceted image of Blackness, one rooted in artistry and self-expression rather than stereotype. Her partnership with Pearl also symbolizes a new kind of inclusivity, one where diversity feels organic to the world, and not tokenized. Finally, in Xenoblade Chronicles 3, Taion stands out as one of the most understated yet impactful examples of representation in modern Nintendo storytelling. A tactician defined by intellect, empathy, and emotional depth, Taion breaks entirely from the physical and performative molds of the earlier decades. His design and narrative arc reflect a generation of creators who view diversity not as a checkbox, but as an integral part of character and world building.
But even with all of that growth, there's still gaps in the representation of Nintendo. The biggest franchises from them, Mario and Zelda, have yet to feature any meaningful black representation. Meanwhile, Pokémon has quietly become one of the most inclusive series in Nintendo's roster. From Lenora to Grant in their early days, to Nessa, Raihan, and Naveen in their modern games, it's clear that diversity is now baked into the world itself. Yet even Super Smash Bros., Nintendo's ultimate crossover, doesn't have a single original black character. It only has a few alternate reskins for characters, making them darker.
Nintendo's journey toward representation has been slow, but undeniably forward. From pixelated stereotypes to complex, expressive characters, we're finally seeing more players reflected in the games they love. There's still work to do, especially in the biggest franchises, but progress is happening. And maybe someday soon, Nintendo's next iconic hero could be someone who looks a little different. And that difference will feel completely natural.